Hello everyone, this is Grace. It is April the 10th, 2024, and we are continuing our discussion on the Feast of Abib, also known as the Passover week. And I am attempting to show that there was no pilgrimage that was associated with the feast. No one had to go there at the time. And we're just looking at other things that I picked up along the way, other scriptures that I feel that we can learn a little bit more about the feast as well. So we left off, we were just about to go into the definition for the Feast of Abib. But I remembered that I must have deleted the wrong scripture because we didn't have any scriptures showing that, hold on, here we are, that the day that Jesus was secured as the lamb was the first day. I'm going to pause you until the noise passes. Hold on. Okay. So this is the first day of unleavened bread. It's the first day of the feast. And this is the day, this word kill doesn't mean killed. It means to rush. So they rushed the lamb, they took it, and they selected him for the crucifixion on the first day of the Passover, which would be the 10th day. So that matches our calendar here. And so I changed this to the 10th day. This is also the day that he rode in with the colt, and it's described as the first day in Leviticus 23. So that's that. Let's go back. And we'll go ahead and continue our study. One moment. I'm going to tell you guys a funny story before we get started. We have so many trains in my town, that back in the old days, there was a famous bank robber who robbed every single town that surrounded our area, right? And when they finally caught him, they said, well, why didn't you rob that town? And he said the reason why he didn't rob this town was because there was too many trains. He couldn't he didn't have a getaway. He couldn't get away because of the trains. So you take the good with the bad, right? And the flax and the barley was smitten, for the barley was in the ear, and the flax was bold. So the ear is the word that is used for the Abib. So let's take a look at that. Fresh young barley, month of ear forming, of greening, of crop, of growing green, Abib. Month of Exodus and Passover, March or April, from the unused root, meaning to be tender. From an unused root, meaning to be tender. Green, that is a young ear of grain, hence the name of the month, Abib, or Abib, ear, green, ears of corn. So we have it as Abib. We have it as corn. You know what? I'm not sure if they have the Abib in each of the definitions, so let's just see. So I pulled it up, and let's just do a search here this time so we can pull them all up at once. Oh, well, it's pollinated here. It's pollinated, and I actually looked. We're going to look at the definition for pollinated too. Well, no, we're going to look at barley when it's pollinated, what that means. And the Abib, Leviticus 2 is pollinated ears, and then Deuteronomy 16. So it's the Abib, or it's pollinated. Okay. So For the barley was pollinated and the flax was bolled. So let's take a look at, you know what, before we take a look at my graphics that I pulled up, if that's what you want to call it, let's look at how some of the other Bibles describe this word. Because I looked at Tyndale. The flax and the barley were smitten, for the barley was shot up, and the flax was bolled. Let's look at the Geneva. There's got to be another old Bible. I thought I had. I don't know how old Bishop's is. Well, that's okay. These two will be fine. And the flax and the barley were smitten, for the barley was eared, and the flax was bolled. So let's go back. I wanted you to see Tyndale specifically, so that's why I pulled it up, because it describes it as shot up. So let's look at my graphics here. Barley growth cycle has the following divisions: germination, seeding, establishment and leaf production, tillering, stem elongation, pollination, and kernel development and maturity. So we know which one we're looking at. We're looking at the pollination. And these are the different stages. This stage here is the stage of pollination. And what you'll see is that when it's, hold on, I have it in the descriptions here. Pollination usually takes place in barley just before or during head emergence from the boot, and we'll see that in a moment. Pollination begins in the head's central portion and proceeds toward the tip of the base. And then these are the growth cycles again. And you can see it says the boot is here right before the pollination, and then the head shoots out during pollination. Oh, unless I got that wrong and it was during the boot. Takes place in barley just before or during head emergency from the boot. Okay, so from either or. So you have the sprouts that are shooting out during the pollination stage. The shoots that will be shooting out, I guess, would be, I don't know. I don't know the terminology. I don't know. But my point that I'm trying to make here is that there is a, when you look at the calendar, you have your 12 months or your 365 days, however you want to look at it. But you have an end, and the end shoots you right back up to the beginning of the new year. One thing ends, and then everything begins. Do you see what I'm saying? So when it says it shot up, this is why they used Abib for barley. I mean for the description of what happens, because the boot stage ends and then the next stage begins, and the barley literally shoots up out of the crop. This is also, I think, why it's called green ears of corn, why they use corn in there. Because if you look at corn, ears of corn grows up. It grows, I didn't get any pictures of corn, but it grows up out of the stalk. It doesn't grow down, it grows up. Anyway, that's the reason why I believe they use that word to describe green ears of corn. It's the beginning of the year. It's the end of one thing and the very beginning of another. It shoots up. So, I can't remember, but let's read through it and see what happens. Then Jeroboam built, we don't need that, let's just start from here. And Jeroboam said in his heart, now shall the kingdom return to the house of David, Oh, okay. This is where he built the golden calves. I remember now. If this people go up to do sacrifice in the house of the Lord at Jerusalem, then shall the heart of this people turn again unto their Lord, even unto Rehoboam king of Judah. And they shall kill me and go again to Rehoboam king of Judah. Now, I have a separate study that shows that Jerusalem was in Judah. However, there is an error in there. It is very ironic because I use it as an example to show how I built the calendar. I made that calendar perfect. I must have done it at least half a dozen times or so. And every time I put the landmarks in green. And then when I did the last one, I did not put the landmark in green, and I used it as an example. So when I say this is how I did it because this means landmark and that means that doesn't mean a landmark, just ignore that part. It's incorrect. But that's not the topic here. What I wanted to show here was this here. And Jeroboam ordained a feast in the 8th month on the 15th day of the month, like unto the feast in Judah. And he offered upon the altar. So, I wanted to point out that Jeroboam didn't ordain 2 feasts. He didn't ordain 3 feasts. He ordained 1 feast in the 8th month. Our mind automatically took us to the 7th month because it was closest. If you were thinking like I was automatically thinking 7th month. Of course, he'll just move it down 1 month. But no, that's not the case. There was only 1 feast. And I need for you to reason with me here. Let's just reason together. Let's think about Christmas. If you celebrated Christmas, you can understand this a little bit. Every year from your childhood, you have this wonderful celebration, right? And you get presents and you get gifts and all these good things happen. And there's lots of food. And then suddenly you find out, you're not supposed to be celebrating Christmas, But in their case, they just decided we're no longer going to be a part of Jerusalem. Okay, so that's the only change. The only thing they changed was that our head of government is now going to be, our king is now going to be Jeroboam. Everything else is the same, right? There's only, but, and it's religion. It's a religious institution. The whole country is based on religion. Are we supposed to believe that every single person who every single year made a pilgrimage to Jerusalem, all of those people are just supposed to stop? They've been doing this since childhood, every single year going to Jerusalem, but they're just supposed to stop and start going to this place to replace it on the 8th month? They never went. That's why. If they went of their own accord. It was not required by God. They couldn't even find priests to serve in this temple. He had to pick scoundrels, the lowest of the low, I think it describes them as, to be the priests in the temple, because nobody else would do it. But we're supposed to believe that they're going to defy a requirement of God and not go to Jerusalem and then tolerate this just because they had ordained him as king. No, they didn't have to go there. It was never a requirement. This would have been meaningless if it was required because the people would have went. You can't just stop doing something like that on a dime. You know what? I'm just going to give up my God because I don't like my king. They'd have ripped him off that throne and kept going to that temple if they needed to. But they didn't have to. It wasn't required. So he ordained 1 feast similar to the Passover Feast. And if they wanted to attend, they could. And if they didn't, most of them didn't anyway, then it was no big deal. And another thing you might want to consider is that they always say the men had to attend. No, this is one of the things that I noticed, because I kept having to change my understanding the more scriptures I read. I would go from this, well, maybe this, well, maybe that. No. Well, what about all those babies that would have been there? You're telling me those men were dragging a baby on their hip and one on their back and two on their shoulders by themselves in order to go to that temple without the mothers? There's just no way. There is no way that's going to happen. Those men aren't taking those babies. They'll take those babies in their wives. But men dragging their babies to the church like that, when they're supposed to be there having fun with their buddies? Hold on. No, it didn't happen. It doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. Okay, I think hold on. Okay, 1 Samuel 20 verse 29. We've gotten a lot of uses out of 1 Samuel chapter 20. The reason why is because you can tell by the circumstances that they are celebrating a feast during this time. And he said, "Let me go, I pray thee, for our family hath a sacrifice in the city, and my brother, he hath commanded me to be there. And now, if I have found favor in thine eyes, let me get away, I pray thee, and see my brethren, therefore he cometh not unto the king's table." What's going on here is David is hiding from Saul because he thinks Saul is trying to kill him. And so he gave an excuse for not coming to the dinner that he had a sacrifice in the city. But it's the time of the feast. Now, the way that Jerusalem is laid out, it has a city, and then it has little villages that surround the city. So you'll see Jesus walking to Jerusalem, and then he'll walk back to his village, and he'll sleep there. But the bustle and everything was happening in the city. It was like the villages were like little suburbs, you know? So when he said in the city, I thought to myself, okay, well, he's going to Jerusalem. But there's actually another city that is located near here. Because I thought to myself, how could he be going to the city if Saul is in the city of Jerusalem? Because Jerusalem was a city. Well, Saul is not in the city. And Saul ate dinner at his house, and he did not live in Jerusalem. Let me show you. Now, I did this study very quickly. I did. So, fact check me, but I'm pretty sure I'm right, because there were certain things that just stood out. And the Zephites came unto Saul to Gibeah, saying, "Doth not David hide himself in the hill of Hashelah, which is before Jeshimon?" So they came unto Saul to Gibeah. That's where Saul resided. He lived in Gibeah. Hold on. Okay. No, I'll pause you until the noise passes. Okay. When Saul heard that David was discovered, now this is an error. They were trying to put it off like David had men with him, that he wasn't alone. So they added this in. It confuses the sentence, so we have to take it out for the sentence to make logical sense. I'll read it with the sentence and then without. When Saul heard that David was discovered, and the men that were with him, now Saul abode in Gibeah under a tree in Ramah, having his spear in his hand, and all his servants were standing about him. So we just don't, it messes up the sentence. When Saul heard that David was discovered, and now Saul abode in Gibeah, period. And now Saul abode in Gibeah, it's not a period, under a tree in Ramah, having his spear in his hand, and all his servants were standing about him. Saul lived in Gibeah. He was under a tree in Ramah. Ramah is the city. Gibeah is the village that Saul lived in, and he abode there. But he was in Gibeah under a tree in Ramah. The reason why it's written like this is this tree right here. There's something special about this tree. Hold on. I did a little bit of research on this because I was trying to figure out what was going on. A tamarisk tree. So it's not one of the trees of Lebanon. It's not the tree. Oh, there's more noise. Hold on. Okay, let's look at the definition here. Tamarisk tree, from the root of uncertain signification. From the root of uncertain signification, a tamarisk tree, by extension, a grove of any kind, a grove tree. So it is a large tree, and when I looked it up in one of the older dictionaries, it says the flowers of the tamarisk are rosaceous, like a rose. Tamarind is a tree that grows tall, and its wood is medicinal. Let me find what I used to look that up in. Here it is. Okay. So he was sitting under this tree in Ramah. And Ramah is the city. Oh, we don't need to look that up. Gibeah is where he was living. Gibeah, and the city is Ramah. I'm sorry, I got distracted. I couldn't remember where I was, what I was talking about. I couldn't remember where I left off. Then went he also to Ramah, and came to a great well that is in Seshu. And he asked and said, Where are Samuel and David? And one said, Behold, they be at Nanath in Ramah. Naioth in Ramah. Then came the messenger to Gibeah of Saul. Again, he lives in Gibeah, and told the tidings in the ear of the people. And all the people lifted up their voices and wept. And there's another one I thought I had that said he was a ward. Hold on, I missed something. To Gibeah of Saul. I think this is it. Let's look this up in Scriptures for All. Old Testament. 1 Samuel 26, verse 1. Oh, here it says he's a ward of Gibeah. That's where he lived. He moved. This specifically says that he moved to Gibeah. And he was a ward there. He wasn't born there, but he was taken in as a ward. Okay, so anyway, my point is that Saul was not in the city. Any city. He wasn't in Jerusalem. He wasn't in Ramah. He was at his home in a little village called Gibeah. Okay, hold on. Okay, let's see where we are. I don't know if we're going to get finished in this video, but let's just push forward. Then Jesus called his disciples unto him and said, I have compassion on the multitude, because they continue with me now 3 days, and have nothing to eat, and I will not send them away fasting, lest they faint in the way. This is 4,000 people in the entire city. And they that did eat were 4,000 men, besides women and children. This is the number of people that were in the tribe of Judah when they first moved, when they first received their land. Those that were numbered of them, even of the tribe of Judah, were 314,600, 74,600 people. And of those 74,000 in that tribe, of the 74,600 men, only 4,000 of them were curious enough to go and listen to Jesus in a country that revolves around religion. It's just not possible. It's just not possible. And here is the number of the men when they first moved into the city of all of the tribes. So when all those that were numbered of the children of Israel by the house of their fathers, from 20 years old and upward, all that were able to go forth to war in Israel, even all they that were numbered were 600,000 and 3,550. Can you imagine being, and they said you're supposed to eat that lamb. Can you imagine being at the end of that line? You're supposed to eat that lamb? You're supposed to eat a lamb that they're supposed to sacrifice? They're supposed to sacrifice enough lambs to feed 600,000 men in one day. And if you're at the end of that line, I feel very, very bad for you. Because you're probably not going to eat. Not to mention the fact, when they described the feast, and I didn't put it in here, when they described those feasts, they described them as killing thousands upon thousands, just a completely unbelievable number of animals, just a slaughter. Just horrible. Thousands of animals have to die, right? There's no way you're going to put all those animals on that grill. How many grills are you going to go through? They're supposed to be, I don't know if they were cooking them. I can't remember what the lie is anymore, if they were burning them up or if they were cooking them on the grill. I just don't know anymore. It's also nonsensical anymore. Can you imagine throwing one bull after another bull after another bull after another bull on that altar? It would be destroyed within a matter of hours, I would imagine, if you had that much continual weight over fire on a grill. The grill would just fall in. It doesn't make any logical sense that any of the stuff that they said was going to happen actually happened. It just doesn't make any sense. It won't work. 600,000 men, and they were all supposed to eat that day. It's absolutely impossible. And don't say they were supposed to be at their home putting blood over there. How are they going to be at home and in Jerusalem? It's got to be one or the other. You think women are going to do that? What? Oh, no, wait, that's not going to happen. I don't even remember which one it was. I can't remember the line anymore. I'm going through so many different scenarios trying to come to this understanding, because I originally had a completely different idea. And so I kept having to jump from one idea to another until I finally found something that fit. And so I just don't remember exactly what the lie was. We could go to Exodus 12, but we're at 29 minutes. I'm not. Oh, here we are. And this day shall be unto you for a memorial. Well, let's go up here and see what the original command was. Speak ye unto all the congregation of Israel, saying, in the 10th day of this month you shall take a lamb, according to the house of their fathers, a lamb for a house. And if the household be too small for the lamb, let him and his neighbor next unto his house take according to the number of the souls. Every man according to his eating shall make your account for the lamb. Your lamb shall be without blemish, a male of the first year. You shall take it out of the sheep, or from the goats, and you shall keep it until the 14th day of the same month. The whole assembly of the congregation of Israel shall kill it in the evening, and shall take of the blood and strike it on the two sides of the post. So I have no idea, because they're supposed to be in Jerusalem, and they're also supposed to be in their homes. Now I know why I forgot, because it's just confusion. It just doesn't make sense. Nobody went to Jerusalem for, well, hold on, you could go, and people did go. They went for the Pentecost, they went for Jerusalem. There were 4,000 people there, or 5,000, however you want to look at it. They were there. It's just that it wasn't required. The more we learn about our religion, the more we begin to see just how very simplistic it was. All of these hoops and all of these rules and all of these things that they have us doing, and none of it applied. None of it was real. At this point, our religion is the most simplistic religion that I'm aware of on the face of the earth. There's nothing more simple. Now that we know that we don't have to trek to Jerusalem, we don't have all of these rules. We do have a celebration. The celebration is real. The first one is. The second one is a celebration, because these are prophecies. They mean something. This is why they are in place. So you have the prophecy of the Passover, which I'm just calling it the Passover. And I'm just going to call the first 4 days the Passover. The first 5 days, because it starts here, it ends here. And then you have the actual feast, the Feast of the Abib, the New Year, and then the wave offering. That's our primary holiday right there. Let's read through this quickly. And this day shall be unto you for a memorial, and ye shall keep it a feast to the Lord throughout your generations. You shall keep it a feast by an ordinance forever. I don't know why I put this in here, but I mean, it's a memorial that we are supposed to keep forever. And they're talking about the Passover. We're at 33 minutes. Let's stop here. Yeah, we'll stop here, and then we will. Now let's look at this. What comes next? Okay, yeah, let's look at this and then we'll stop. So this is Zechariah. Let me read it first and then we'll discuss it. And it shall come to pass that every one that is left of all the nations which came against Jerusalem shall even go up from year to year to worship the King, the Lord of hosts, and to keep the Feast of Tabernacles. And it shall come to pass that every one that is left of all the nations which came against Jerusalem shall even go up from year to year. Once a year, year to year. I had another scripture in there that said year to year, but I took it out. I didn't see the point of it. But let's think about what we're being told. The Feast of Tabernacles is supposed to be when you take a tent and camp out for a week. Are we supposed to believe that the Lord is going to have people come there and bring the wicked, take their tent and come and camp out in Jerusalem for a week? Man, they're going to love that. Why would they not come for that? Why would they not? We're all kind and loving and happy. Man, they would love to be there for a week. No, they're going to come up for the Feast of Passover. and then they're going to go home. The Passover is the feast that we're going to keep forever, as described here. This day shall be unto you for a memorial, and ye shall keep it a feast unto the Lord throughout your generations. You shall keep it a feast by an ordinance forever. They shall keep the feast, and all they did was change it to tabernacles instead of the Abib. So we're going to stop there. Ooh, we're at 35 minutes. When we come back, we're going to take a look at, I don't know if you guys remember, but Solomon, throughout the Bible, it said that the temple was erected on the first day of the first month. So, but in Solomon, it said that he opened up his temple on the first day of the seventh month. So I thought that was odd. We're not going to talk about that, but we're going to look at some of the dates in Solomon. There was some shady work going on, and I want to just take a look at that with you. All right. Alrighty. I will talk to you in the next video.